Picture originally bought it at BCN. They were like a color. Yeah, no, this is printed paper. Put tape like that.
So what is the intended purpose?
It's sort of like corpus rise. They call it like a set. They have a juzu, a picture, and
Staying warm.
Yeah. You got a lot of stuff.
and so they sell I call it.
Now it'd always be like full. And now,
Take it for provide good pictures. So I found it.
I have to get used to snow in March. I know you get it. Back in the olden days,
I like about kids for example.
so I was there and I think,
I want to so I
well, he was with the Strokes, so he's around.
and then so I went to worship training.
Nice to hear Reverend Pastor. I'm sure he's
Not popular.
Oh, so now you're stuck.
At the convention, I gave away about 20 to Stockton, California. And then also Yakima, who was coming out. They sold like 400. Minister for Yakima in Seattle. He made Because the thin 180 instead of zebra boxes. The lady and so I was trying to then he said, well, I'm going to talk to him for a while. Going to Mexico. And then when I talked to him, he got stuck in revolt and then yeah. Outside of don't think I'm home. That was 2 weeks ago. I haven't talked to her. But then I found out they don't have
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to White River Buddhist Temple. Today is our spring Higan service. We have special guest Reverend Dawn Castro with us today, as Reverend Cindy's currently on her family leave. I think we can make this announcement. They had their baby on snowy Friday the 13th. So baby boy Tetsuo Michael Koyama. Yeah. So we wish Reverend Cindy and Reverend Tadao well as they recover and get used to being a family. So this morning we will be chanting Sambu Jo on page 22, led by Reverend Castro, followed by the Hyo Bakumon, followed by our sutra chanting Jusege on page 25.
the occasion of this spring Higan service, we have reverently gathered to deeply listen to the Buddha Dharma and teachings of Shinran Shorin, our founder. In this fragile world of birth and death, may we be inspired to live bravely and responsibly in the spirit of the 6 paramitas, the 6 perfections. 1. Dana, selfless giving. Sila, moral conduct. Shanti, patience and forbearance. Virya, a zest for living, energetic pursuit. Jhana, focused concentration and mindfulness. And 6, prajna, wisdom. May these perfections naturally arise as an expression of gratitude for Amida Buddha's pure compassion that embraces all life. Namo Amida. Namo Amida. Namo Amida.
Please rise if you are able for the reading of the three treasures on page 3. Fortunate is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Rare is it to encounter the teachings of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not seek the truth of the Dharma in this life, in what life shall we find it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken within us our highest aspiration. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the Dharma and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, free from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriad of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful teaching. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Please stay standing. We don't have Judy, but we have recording on the piano. We will be singing Namo Amida Butsu on page 137.
Fortune smiles, like flowers of
Please be seated. We will next have our Dharma message from Reverend Don Castro.
Morning, everyone. Good morning. Congratulations on your newest member. We sang Legatha Namo Amida Butsu, and then it says on the upper left, Shinkaku. That was Ernest Hunt in Hawaii in the 1920s. His wife Dorothy wrote the Golden Chain, and so she actually created that herself. And he was a remarkable person, an Englishman, and he worked with Bishop Imamura in Hawaii, and who Bishop Imamura was trying to really create an English language program, and so they hired Ernest Shinkaku Hunt, and he wrote these gathas, and it's about 100 years ago, I would say, that gatha was written. And one thing I remember about Reverend Hunt is that I was told he used to put a strap and a butsudan on his back and go out into the sugarcane fields. And when the workers would have a break, he would conduct service out in fields. My wife is from Hawaii, and she grew up North Shore of Oahu mostly. And we went back with her father and mother to Wailua Honganji, and they were poor. Sugarcane workers did not have a whole lot of money, and then people struggled. And my mother-in-law, who is now in Japan at 99 years old, she disappeared, went out, and came back smiling, and she had cotton. The cotton was growing, and she had cotton. It hadn't been, what do you call it, combed to get the seeds out, but she had planted cotton like 30 years before, with the naive idea that in raising the cotton she could stuff the zabuton with the cotton. She didn't realize it has seeds and all this, So that's a very vivid memory I have. And then I remember her father saying, "What happened to all the sugar cane? There was no sugar cane there." He hadn't been back in years and years and years. And so there was no sugarcane there. And then a big limo pulled up, and the sugarcane refinery was just down the road from the temple. And the window came down, they said, "Where is the such and such?" It's like an upscale soap factory. And that's what the sugarcane refinery had been turned into. It was like a historic site. And my wife's father goes, "I don't know. I don't know of any soap factories around here." And so I guess there were the tourists. They wanted to go to that place, and they took off. And so I just wanted to share that memory with you. So, but as we chanted the Sambujo this morning, and I don't know, maybe I'm repeating what you already know, but I always visualize the start of that tradition of scattering flower petals. We welcome Amida Buddha into this dojo, this place that we practice the way of the Buddha. So this is a Nembutsu dojo. And so we welcome all the Buddhas to be here. We joyfully scatter flower petals and welcome. And actually that's a reenactment of what people did at the time of Shakyamuni Buddha when he and his disciples would enter a city. People would be so overjoyed that he was coming into their village or their city that they would line the streets and they would have baskets of flower petals and they would throw the flower petals into the street. And the Buddha and his disciples would walk on a carpet of flower petals. And so we're reenacting that, just like 2,500 years ago. We are welcoming the Buddha spiritually. We are welcoming all the Buddhas to be here present. And they're really arising in our heart and our minds. And I realized years ago that when the bride comes down the aisle, we are also still scattering flower petals, and she walks on a carpet of flower petals. So I kind of incorporated that into the wedding ceremony that I do. And I have the flower girl scatter the flowers and then come up to the shrine and give me the basket. And I start the wedding ceremony with the scattering of flower petals. And then I explain, this is like ancient ceremony that we're doing. Well, one occasion the flower girl threw all the flower petals out. I got an empty basket, Well, okay, let's make accommodations here. Now, we're also, again, today engaged in a very ancient ritual that's unique to Japan. Higan, the spring and fall equinox, is only observed in the Buddhist world in Japan. And it started with Prince Shotoku, whose shrine used to be over here. He was displaced by 2 women. So I was a little bit surprised to see that. But Prince Shotoku was considered the father of Japanese Buddhism, and he lived at the end of the 6th century, late 500s, and there were many, many Korean immigrants to Japan at that time, and the Korean monks, they led the Higan service, the first one being by Prince Shotoku. Higan, I think because, we don't relate to it in the same way that I think, at least here in the Northwest, as maybe a Japanese person would relate to the spring and fall equinox, to the Higan. Because in Japan, you have bitterly cold winter, and you're just coming out of that. And you have now the cherry blossoms are about to bloom. It's considered the easiest time. Spring and fall equinox is the easiest time to be a good Buddhist. If you're going to be a good Buddhist anytime, now is the best time to be it. To practice the paramitas. It's the easiest time. Because you go through summer and I don't know. I have the Weather Channel on my phone, and I always look at what's the temperature in Kyoto today. I go, oh my gosh, I know how humid it gets in the summertime. And then you add 95 degrees, oh, how can people endure that? So then the summer goes by, September comes, it cools down, But when it's in Japan, when it's bitterly cold and you're confined to the house, or when it's, unbearably hot, what happens? You get cranky. Not a good time to be a good Buddhist. Actually it's the best time to be if you're a good Buddhist, you're going to be a good Buddhist at that time, People can really, one of the paramitas, endurance, forbearance, right? So that's maybe the best time to practice. But the easiest time, maybe, would be spring and fall when you're done. I remember one of our members who I would love to meet him again. He went off to Hollywood to make his name in Hollywood, and he came back. He was an actor, and his name was Larry Dinwiddie. So if anyone knows Larry Dinwiddie, please tell him I'm looking for him. This was like 30 years ago. Larry said when he became a Buddhist and he went out to dinner with a friend of his he said, "Oh, Larry, how's your Buddhist practice going and everything?" And Larry ordered meat, at the restaurant. And his friend said, "I thought you were a Buddhist." Under the false assumption that all Buddhists are vegetarians, He says, "How come you ordered meat?" And Larry replied, very George answer. He said, "I didn't say I was a good Buddhist." So, the paramitas in general Mahayana Buddhism are considered, you practice the paramitas as you practice the way of the Bodhisattva. Really, the paramitas are the practice of a person who is a Bodhisattva. One seeking enlightenment. And not just for themselves, but for all sentient beings. So you have Dharmakara Bodhisattva. That's the basis of Jodo Shinshi Buddhism. It's a whole mythological story of Dharmakara Bodhisattva becoming Amitabha Buddha. Making vows. Every Bodhisattva makes vows and wants to create a realm, a pure realm of Buddhist, what would you say, a Buddhist being or practice. And so you have probably the most, for instance, Shinran Shonin says, when we gain insight, Shinjin, faith, we become the equivalent of Maitreya, Miroku Bosatsu, Maitreya Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva who will be the next Buddha. So the idea is that once we gain that insight, we enter a non-retrogressive. We never will go back, only forward, on to enlightenment. And so that's one Bodhisattva. You have, many, many different Bodhisattvas, Samantabhadra, and on. But the most popular one by far is Kannon Bodhisattva. So that's Kannon. When you chant the Junira, it says, "In the crown of Kannon is Amitabha Buddha," because Kannon is an expression, a manifestation of Amitabha Buddha. So oftentimes you'll see the statue of Amitabha Buddha and the right raised hand is wisdom, and that's the Bodhisattva, Seishi Bodhisattva. The left lowered hand is the compassion hand, wisdom and compassion, and that is Kannon. And often you'll see a statue of Kannon and Seishi flanking Amida Buddha. And the most popular, not the most popular, but one of the forms of Kannon, besides, appearing as a beautiful woman and many, many different ways. Even Kannon will appear in a ferocious form because sometimes people need to be scared. Life is impermanent. Life is very fragile. That's the most compassionate thing you can do for some people. So sometimes Kannon is ferocious in appearance. But the one that, when I first became a Buddhist back in the late 1960s, and I encountered these Buddhist statues with many arms, and I thought, oh, that's, having a kind of a Western orientation, many arms, that's kind of ugly, kind of grotesque almost, it seemed like to me at the time. Until I understood, here's a statue with 1,000 arms. You'll see Kannon, many, many heads, and that has a story in itself, but 1,000 arms. And then if you go to Kyoto, maybe the most popular tourist site is Sanju Sangendo, it's called. The temple, it's a long, long temple with 1,000 statues of Kannon. And in the middle is, the central object is a statue with 1,000 arms. All the others have 64 arms. So you have 64,000 arms, and then you have 1,000 arms in the middle. And they say with these 1,000 Bodhisattva statues, if you're Japanese, you're going to see someone you know. And sure enough, I'm walking along, and I looked up, and I go, that's Reverend Ron Kobata. Really? That statue looks like Ron Kobata. I don't know if I ever told him that or not. He's in Portland now. But, sure enough. So, but that statue with 1,000 arms became to me the most beautiful, the most awesome Buddhist statue I know of. Because what it's depicting, it's a kind of a poetic vision of life. How much suffering there is in the world. How many people are reaching out who are in pain. Please help, please give me a hand. And here's the statue saying, how do we respond to these people? Compassion. So it said, it's not 1,000-armed Bodhisattva. It's innumerable arms. It's compassion embracing all suffering beings. And to me, that's just is so amazing when I see that 1,000-armed statue. The Kannon actually means, if you translate it, it means to hear the sound, to hear the cry. And I think, we talk about in Jodo Shinshu, the call of Amida Buddha. What is the call? The call means to come, to study, to listen, to awaken. But not for ourselves. It's not for ourselves. We've got to lose that self-centered thing, that self-centered sense. I remember years ago, the Campfire Girls were asked to write an essay on what are you grateful for? And every one of them wrote exactly the same essay. I am grateful for my friends, I'm grateful for my parents, I'm grateful for my teachers, I'm grateful for my health. Namo Higan, you know. And I read them and I had the opportunity to respond. And I said, you know, that's nice, but it's all me, me, me. You know, what's coming to me? But Buddhism teaches us selfless gratitude. I am grateful. So you've got to take it one step further. I am grateful for my friends. I am grateful for my education. I'm grateful for my health. Don't take it for granted. You know, I'm grateful for this because it enables me to do this, to give. We talk about giving back. You know, we have received from profound causes and conditions that have enabled us to be who we are. So, how fortunate. Hard is it to be born. Fragile is it to be born into this world. Now we are living it. That's the 3 refuges. You know. So, but I am grateful because you give back. It goes through you. It doesn't stay with you. You know. That's the Buddhist life. And I think one person, maybe some of you who are a little older here might remember Yuki Miyake. Does anyone remember Yuki? Remarkable, really remarkable woman. She was, by her friends, considered a bodhisattva. And Yuki had a very sad, very tragic life. She lost her only child, her daughter, after her daughter was married for some time, not for very long. So she lost her only child. And Yuki became a volunteer, especially with children. I remember we used to have a daycare, kind of nursery school behind the temple. We had for 50 years, and it was still operating when I came to Seattle. And Yuki volunteered there, I remember. But I had a chance to talk to her one time because I heard that she was volunteering at the hospital in the intensive care nursery as a cuddler. And I asked Yuki about it, and she said, well, you know, those babies, so many of the babies who are in intensive care nursery are born to mothers who are addicted to drugs. And so from the time of their birth, they're going through drug withdrawal because they've ingested what their mother has taken. They've also taken it in. So she said then something that Kamdon, the one who hears the cry, she said, you know, those babies have such a compelling cry because they're going through drug withdrawal. It's a different kind of cry. And here she is responding. She said, you know, those babies, I want them just to have a sense that somebody loved them at some time. You know, I thought, this is Kannon. You know, we talk about Kannon, we see statues and all that sort of thing, but this is living. This is someone who is embodying that spirit of compassion. So in Jodo Shinshu, we're not practicing the paramitas to get to the farther shore, but rather we are embraced in compassion. We are just as we are. You know, this expression, just as we are, the old timers, when I've been with people who are close to death, and the old timers, I'm an old timer. they would say, how grateful I am. Now, here they are, close to dying. How grateful I am that just as I am, there's nothing I can do to gain enlightenment. there's nothing I need to do to gain enlightenment. That I am embraced just as I am. How wonderful. So if there's any fear when we're facing death, if there's any regret or any doubts, that's all a product of our own mind. It doesn't come from the side of the Buddha. We are not being judged. There's no judgment. We judge ourselves. You know, I've been battling ants in my kitchen. I don't know why, springtime. I've been massacring ants. I hate to do it. And I talk to them. I say, you know, I'm spraying peppermint spray here. I know I've got to kill so many. Can I just don't come in and I don't have to do it? You know, it's a deterrent. You know, I don't want to send poison back to the nest and kill them all. But I just want them to stop coming in. But I think, Montainai, you know, I heard Montainai is a sense of regret and that I don't really deserve a clean kitchen, but you know, I strive for it out of my selfishness. And I will be speaking about Eco Sangha. Someone asked me to speak about Eco Sangha today, and I brought along some materials, but afterwards we're going to have a discussion. And at the National Council meeting, we had, I'm the ministerial advisor for the BCA Eco Sangha Committee. Eco, ecology, and Sangha is the community. And I'm so glad to see your Eco Sangha, all the information out there. That really is gratifying. And I brought some more that you can add to your wall out there. And your kitchen too. The Eco Sangha, I've been writing articles for the Wheel of Dharma newspaper, trying to get to that sense. To me, in Jodo Shinshu, when I get to the bottom line experience of it, what is in Japanese that's Nishu Jinshin, is the two aspects of the awakening experience in Jodo Shinshu. One is that I can't do it. The other one is, but I don't have to. How great, that's where the source of gratitude comes from. You know, if left to my own devices, you know, I'm slaughtering ants, I'm just, you know, living a life that is very self-centered, but it's for people like me that the compassion is extended. Those 1,000 arms of Kannon embrace me also. So in Jodo Shinshu, rather than the paramitas leading to enlightenment, they are natural expressions that come out of us when we realize we are embraced in a spirit of boundless compassion. Amida Buddha is the oneness of all life. I'm really fascinated by some of the findings of modern science, one of which I want to do more research on, and that is what are called mirror neurons. Mirror neurons means, you know, that not survival of the fittest, you know, and that kind of thing, but it's rather we live interdependently, and we, the mirror neuron is when the Buddha says, see yourself in others. When you see yourself in others, then who can you harm? Well, shamefully, I harm lots of things, you know, but I see myself in the ants. You know, I actually ascribe motivations to the ants too. You know, I talk about anthropocentric. Anyway, when you see yourself in others, who can you harm? That sense of a mirror neuron is feeling, as Yuki did, feeling the pain of others as her own. Yeah. It's what causes us to cringe I think cringing is a really interesting phenomenon too. And to me, the Bodhisattva cringes. I've been trying to find information on cringing too, and I don't think there's a lot of studies on cringing. But that's so innate. I mean, if you don't cringe, then I worry about you. And a friend of mine who was a probation officer, he said, there are people who have no conscience out there who would probably rejoice in seeing your pain. These are sick individuals. But a healthy individual is one who sees a dog that's about to get hit by a car and goes, why? Because they feel what the dog feels. The baby that's going to touch a hot stove, and you go, you've been there. So you only cringe because you've been there. You've felt that. And so the older we get, I think maybe the more we should cringe. I cringe for the world now. And all those people in the Middle East and Ukraine and Africa, all that the world is going through. That's the 1,000-armed Bodhisattva. How much pain there is in the world. How do we respond? All we can do is reach out. Each one of us. So anyway, thank you very much for inviting me today. And I want to close with just a short meditation. Our founder, Shinran Shonin, has written, I have gathered the true words, so they will help others to practice the way to enlightenment. My wish is that those who have attained enlightenment will lead those who come after them, and those who aspire enlightenment will follow their predecessors, thus following one after another, endlessly and uninterruptedly, until this boundless sea of birth and death is exhausted. Namo Amida Sanananda Ananda Ananda.
Thank you, Reverend Castro, for your Dharma message. Next, rise if you're able for Gatha Ondaku-san 2 on page 153. Please remain standing. We will next read the Jodo Shinshu Daily Creed on page 8. Realizing enlightenment is assured, and reciting the Nembutsu, I shall live my life cheerfully and positively, understanding the oneness of life and cultivating self-reflection. I shall diligently attend to my life's tasks in gratitude. Recognizing the Dharma path, I shall help spread the teachings of the Buddha. Appreciating the Buddha Dharma, I shall respect and help others, working for the good of society. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Please be seated. Next, are there any first-time visitors or guests today? If not, any other announcements?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm George Jett, and I'm the president of the PWA, and our meeting is next Sunday, not today. We've had Reverend Castro here, and we'll hear his discussion and enjoy his wisdom. So next Sunday is the PWA meeting. Following service will be in the multi-purpose rooms. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
We have so many sign-up sheets. And we have all those announcements, on our paper here. But one there's probably about three I want to mention. And that is, there's a sign-up sheet in the back for our garden, for our plant sale. And it takes so many volunteers to do that project. So if you are interested and you have the time, please go ahead and sign up. Randy's going to be helping. He's not here, but he's helping as he usually does every year with donations. And another thing is Clean Sweep. That's on the bulletin board out here. So Auburn Clean Sweep usually takes about 10 people. And we'll be at Veterans Memorial Park, which is interesting because last year there was a group of high school students who came. So we kind of stepped back and gave them a couple little, pointers. And it was sweet. We didn't really do any work. I don't know what happened. So there's that. March 21st, Saturday, 10 till 1 o'clock. The theme is Infinite Compassion for our book club. And that's open to Art Studio. So please take a look. And then there's one more, Hanatsuri. So then we'll have potluck afterwards. Instead of having our usual tea sandwiches, we're hoping that, we decided to kind of go back to our potluck that we had years ago and just change it up just a little bit, although I'm going to miss those beautiful little tea sandwiches. So it's all on here, and we really have a lot of things going on, so thank you all for your help.
Okay, as Kelsey mentioned or announced, the Reverend Cindy and Reverend Tadao had their baby. There is one request, is that please no visitors or phone calls until they're ready. As Kelsey said, they're probably just trying to figure this out. As most of you know, being new parents, you don't really know what hits you until you're right there. So if you do have cards, please send them to the temple and we will get them to them. All right. The announcement is that, remember when we had the baby celebration, we filled out the cards on what time the baby was going to be born and how much the baby was going to weigh. And we have the winners, and they both are from White River. So the first one is Chayton, who guessed March 13th at 4 p.m. Baby was actually born at 2:50, but he's won. And then Annika was right on the nose for the baby's weight, which is 7 pounds, 6 ounces. So come see me afterwards and I'll give you your prizes. Right? I think that's it. Thank you. Oh, no, please stay for refreshments after service, and then we'll have a discussion with Reverend Castro. Thank you.
Hello! For those who don't know me, I'm Tessa Asado, and I will be chairing this year's Obon.
and so it's never too early to start planning. For those who want to attend the meeting, our first meeting is April 7th, Tuesday at 7 p.m. It's virtual, so if you want to be part of the meeting, just email me. It's on the announcement sheets. My email address should be on it, or it's not. That's okay. Just find me. So if you want it, we'll exchange contact and yeah. So thank you. Okay, and that concludes our Sunday service. Please, everyone, God show with me, and we'll read our closing words. My life is not only my life, but also the life of others. Sacrifices, kindness, thoughtfulness, and patience. I am grateful. Namo Amida. Namo Amida. Namo Amida. Namo. Yes, thank you for joining service today, and please, Osho,